So we're going to talk about some file management, beginning with some of the option settings that affect the file management functionality that we're going to review. And then we'll look at the recent documents, the recent workbooks area, where we can pin some of those recent workbooks to the top of the list and have them visible all the time, every time we go back there. We can also pin some workbooks to the navigation pane, and then we can maintain our list of recent places or folders in a similar fashion, or we can pin the ones we want to maintain the view of at the top of the list. And finally, where the recent workbooks are listed, we also have access to the unsaved draft version functionality that was covered in a prior movie. So I have a workbook set up, and this is a picture of the options for the functionality that we're going to be reviewing in this movie. Beginning with show this number of recent workbooks. The default is 25. You can make that number anywhere from 0 to 50. And currently I set mine at 3. You can also check the box in the next line to quickly access this number of recent workbooks, which you can set anywhere from 0 to 25. And the default is 4. That actually pins the workbooks to the task pane, and we're going to go and show you this in a second. And finally, there's a show this number of unpinned recent folders. The default is 0, and we'll take a look at where that is in the Backstage area. So to begin with, we're going to take a look at the recent workbooks by going to Alt-F-R. And as I said, I have my recent workbooks to display set to 3. As you open workbooks, the one that you most recently opened is going to be at the top of the list, and then they're going to work their way down chronologically, where the older ones are going to be at the bottom of the list. As well as being able to change this number from 0 to 50, we can also right-click the workbook and do a few things. We can open it, which we can also open it by double-clicking. We can open a copy, which in effect will keep the original as if it's a template. Excel will add a digit so that book 1 becomes book 1-1, and your original is maintained and your copy has a new name. You can have Excel copy a path to the clipboard, and the clipboard can be found on the worksheet. You can also pin the workbook to the list. You can do that by left-clicking that, or by clicking the pin button. When you do this, these workbooks will always be on the top of the list. To unpin it, you just left-click the pin again. The other options are that you can remove the workbook from the list, so I can remove number 5, or I can clear all the unpinned workbooks and just leave myself with the ones that are pinned. And if there aren't any pinned, we'll clear the entire list. So I can clear the unpinned workbooks, yes. And if I unpin that one and clear the unpinned workbooks, we clear the entire list. So I've got my recent workbooks back again. I've got it limited to a list of 3, and I actually have 5 recent workbooks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I increase that number by going to the advanced options to, let's say, 7, and go back to the recent area, Alt-F-R, I'll have 5 showing because that's all I have is 5. I cleared the list, opened up these 5 workbooks. I don't have 7, I have 5. So this list is maintained in the memory of Excel, and you can choose to show more or fewer of the workbooks. But until you clear the list, it's still there. So in addition to being able to pin these workbooks to the recent list, we can also pin them to the navigation pane. And we do that by going back to the options, advanced, scrolling down. I'm going to quickly access 4 workbooks. And as I said, you can make this number up to 25, anywhere from 0 to 25. I'm going to leave it at 4, click OK, go back to the Backstage area, Alt-F, and the workbooks that are selected are the 4 most recent workbooks, 5, 4, 3, 2. So this enhances the availability of these workbooks so that you don't have to go anywhere other than the Backstage area to have these workbooks launchable or selectable. The other option is in the Save As area, and that has to do with the unpinned recent folders, which by default is set at 0, sort of oddly enough. I set mine to 5, and you have similar options on the folders as you did the worksheets. We can pin it to the list, we can copy the path to the clipboard, or we can remove them from the list. The save has to do with the fact that we're in the Save As place in the Backstage area, and it allows us to access that folder to save the current file to. You can also pin these using the pin icon. So this has been changed a bit in several different ways from the prior version 2010 of Excel. One thing that's still the same, though, is back where the recent workbooks are listed, we can access our unsaved draft versions. That you can do by clicking on that right there, and we don't have any unsaved recent workbooks. And this functionality was covered in another movie. But it is in the recent area. That's what we're talking about. I just wanted to point that out again. So that's some file management functionality. We first looked at the option settings that's affecting this functionality, where we can look at a number of recent workbooks, we can pin them to a list, we can clear the list, we can save a shortcut to the clipboard, we can also look at, in the Save As area, recent folders and pin those to the top of the list as well. And where the recent workbooks are listed, we can also access our unsaved draft versions.